then I'm going to mute everybody, then we'll get rolling on the show, okay? So, where am I? Okay, so, let me just put it on full screen. Put it on full screen. Okay, so let's get going. So we're standing with our feet about the same distance as our hips or our shoulders apart. Your feet are parallel to each other, so the same distance between the inside of the toes, heels, and your knees. Keep that bend in your knees the whole time. Imagine you have a long ponytail on the top of the head. Imagine this is tied up to the ceiling. So have the feelings if you are suspended from above. Your pelvic area is tilted forwards. Feels like it's hanging down plumb from that suspension from above. Feel yourself sitting down. Sitting down. Visualize a ball in your belly, about 3 finger widths below the belly button and in the center of the body. A fist-sized ball, closer to the spine than to the front of the body, and you're taking the weight of the upper body down through the ball, or down through the spine, down through that ball in the belly, down through the legs and into the ground. So you're perfectly upright here. Put the mind into that ball in the belly, and just start to turn it from side to side. Turning it from side to side. Turning it from side to side. So quite a small movement at your center, a bigger movement at your waist, and an even bigger movement at your fingertips. Turning the waist and doing it like this for the moment. So as you turn onto that supporting leg, the hip is more closed than open. But we know we're not doing that with the hips. We're moving freely through this area like a boat floats through water. So slightly submerged, but floating across the qua, this energy gate, floating across the surface of there like a boat floating on water. So smoothly on the surface, slightly submerged but floating across the surface. And when the leg is at its fullest, you want the inguinal crease, the groin area here, to be more closed than open. More closed than open. But again, you're not doing that with the hips. It's just the momentum of the turning of the waist, the weight of the body and the ground underneath your feet that is dictating how much the inguinal crease closes. And we've worked on those triangles that make up the feet, the triangle from the ankle to the heel to the balls of the feet, from the ankle to the balls of the feet to the toes. 2 triangles. When the leg is at its fullest, have about 70% of the weight going down through the triangle at the rear of the foot, 30% of the weight going down through the triangle at the front of the foot, softening the instep, sinking down. Feel, as you sink down, feel, though the knee goes forwards, the hip goes backwards, so you're not locking the legs out, you're feeling the natural shock-absorbing properties of your legs. Sinking down. Feel as the bones become more weight-bearing. Feel them rotating, a nice even rotation all the way up through the body. Nice even rotation up through the body. Feel the muscles tensing against those rotating bones as much as they need to give stability to the movement, to the body. And with this just enough, you should be able to feel the elasticity of the connective tissue, the myofascia, that stringy, stretchy white stuff, and the anatomy trains, those bands of connective tissue that connect everything together and give you the different planes of movement inside the body, those 12 anatomy trains. Feel those anatomy trains, the fascia, kind of acting like strings to the bows you're making with the legs. Those bows, as the bones bend and rotate, you're making these bows, bow between the thigh and the calf, between the top of the foot and the shin, underneath the arch of the foot, between the front of the thigh and the belly here. All those bows. Feel the connective tissue as string to those bows. And feel the weight of the body loading up those bows. Loading up those bows, and then just let that energy, that jing energy release from those bows and just send it up through the body and out to the fingertips. Sinking down and then bouncing out. Sinking down and bouncing out. Then start to let the heel follow the sideways movement of the body. Let the heel follow the sideways movement of the body. This is an empty stance. Empty stance. You're just emptying the weight of the body down onto that supporting leg. Make sure the bum doesn't stick out. Keep the pelvic area hanging down plumb. Still have the feeling as if you're suspended from above. So you're sinking down, but you're still suspended from above. Turning, compressing, and releasing. Compressing and releasing. Send the strength of the earth up through the body and out to the fingertips. Send it up. Then make the hands into hollow fists. Hollow fists, and bring the hands up in front of you. So the heel is still coming off the ground, not as much as it was in the previous exercise, but the heel is still coming off the ground. And you're kind of rolling from the toes towards the heel and then from the heel towards the toes, and you're activating that pump of the connective tissue that runs along the soles of the feet. So that bow that the arch of the foot makes, feel the plantar fascia as the string to that bow. Sink down and then release that and send that up through the body and out to the fist. So make sure it's not going out through the ribs sticking out or the chest sticking out or not getting stuck in the lower back, curving in. Sink the chest to round the upper back, sink the ribs to fill the lower back, pelvic area is tilted forwards, hanging down. This one, you're like a horse rearing up onto its hind quarters, its front legs and hoofs in the air, mane fluttering in the wind, standing tall, confident, proud, but we know it's not egotistical pride, it's that pride of a good self-esteem, a good sense of self-worth, that sort of pride. So if you're not feeling that, kind of fake it. Really imagine you are a horse. If you do have a negative narrative going on in your head, just kind of change that narrative, change that mantra. Like a horse rearing up onto its hind quarters, its front legs and hoofs in the air, its mane fluttering in the wind, standing tall, confident, proud, good sense of self-worth, self-esteem. Then open up the hands and bring one hand over the shoulder, the other hand onto the lower back. So throwing your arms up, one hand over the shoulder, the other hand onto the lower back. Throwing your arms up, throwing them up. So letting go of control of the arms to the shoulders and just feeling the strength of the earth behind the movements of your arms. Throwing them up, throwing them up. And tapping the body. The palm is tapping the shoulder and the upper back. The back of the hand is touching the lower back, the smaller back, around the Mung Men point. Throwing your arms up, hitting yourself as hard as is comfortable for you. So you could do this as body conditioning if you were so inclined, or you could just do it as a gentle massage to release any tension you might be holding onto in the shoulders or in the lower back. And then just let this settle down on its own. Okay, so your feet are about the same distance as your hips or your shoulders apart. Feet parallel to each other. So the same distance between the inside of the toes, the heels, and the knees. So we're just going to do some standing. We're going to just do this posture. We're going to do this one, then we're going to change about halfway through to this one, or no, towards the beginning. Change to this one where the palms are facing behind them. So just let your arms hang down by your side for the moment. Just let them hang. Let go of control of the arms to the shoulders. Keep that small gap underneath each armpit. At least let the air get to your armpits. Or you can imagine you have the tiniest of eggs underneath there, like a hummingbird's egg underneath your armpits. And you're holding those eggs there without crushing them or dropping them. So you're not out here. Just arms relaxed down. Just let them hang. Head as if suspended from above. Then if you can keep your balance and you feel comfortable, I want you to close your beautiful eyes. Closing your beautiful eyes. If you don't feel comfortable or balanced, standing and balancing with your eyes closed, you can do the visualization as if you're looking into the distance. Way, way, way beyond where you're standing. You can imagine you're looking into the sky behind me, watching those clouds swirling. Imagine you're watching birds flying near those clouds. You can imagine you're looking deep into a forest, trying to catch a glimpse of a beautiful, rare, and shy creature. That is, you're not being distracted by anything you see around you. You're not being distracted by anything you're taking in through your senses. It's all there. You're aware of it, you're just not thinking about it. You're focusing inwardly. Head as if suspended from above. Then I want you to relax all of your face muscles. Relax the muscles behind and around your eyes. And your eyes, if you do have them closed, they're not tightly closed. They're closed so you can't make any shapes or images from your surroundings out, but they're open enough so you can let a little bit of light in. And you're breathing in through your nose, if you can, of course. Gently touching the tip of the tongue to the top of the mouth, just behind the front teeth. Your teeth are together, but they're not clenched. The same with your lips. Gently tucking your chin in, not up or down, in. Keeping your jaw parallel to the floor. Have the feeling here as if somebody's pulling on your ears to pull your neck back against the collar of a shirt. And with this pulling back and the jaw parallel to the floor, you get a lifting feeling of the head. You feel the cervical region of the spine, those 7 vertebrae lengthening. You feel the skull being pulled back and lifting up off the spine, really opening up that gate at the base of the skull, the top of the spine, the jade pillow gate. But you're not stretching your neck. Your neck is nice and relaxed. Really feel like your head is floating on your neck like a boat floats on water. So this is dang dang or dum dum, standing off the post or stake standing. We know we can do this standing, you can do it sitting down, you can do it lying down. It's standing meditation. So make sure you are truly present in the here and the now. You're not letting your mind wander away into thinking, planning, plotting, scheming anything you'll be doing later, or worrying, stressing, getting upset about something that's already happened. Make sure you're truly present in the here and the now. And we know there are those aspects of the mind that don't like this, being present in the moment. There's parts of the mind that like the worrying mind, the stressing mind, the planning, the plotting, the scheming thoughts. Freud called it the id. Jung called it the dark shadow. You know, in the Oriental arts we call it that little eye. That little eye that kind of shouts really, 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 really loud and dominates if you let it. So don't follow any of those thoughts, those random thoughts of the future that those aspects of the mind will kick up. If you do notice your mind has wandered, just bring it back. Bring it back to the here and the now and your body. And resist the urge to move as well. You can make micro adjustments with the dancing in the belly, but resist the urge to scratch an itch, to look around the room, to fiddle with your clothes. I want you to practice stillness. Stillness of body and stillness of mind. And I just want you to sit further down into the posture and turn your hands so your palms are facing more behind you than towards you. You can imagine that you're pushing your hands up against the wall behind you. So the inside of the arms and the palms are level with the back of your body, your posterior. And this turning of the hands so the palms are facing behind you can make your shoulders tense up. So take a breath in through your nose to your lower abdomen, and as you exhale, feel your shoulders releasing, relaxing with the out breath. Really feel the weight of your arms weighing your shoulders down. Feel the balance of your arms. Feel your arms balancing each other out like two sides of an equally balanced scale. And really send your awareness out to the tips of the fingers. Feel the temperatures of the air with your fingertips. Feel the air between your fingers. The air on your hands, on your palms, and on the backs of the hands. But not thinking about what you're feeling there. Just aware of it. You have a hollow underneath each collarbone called the shoulder's nest. Take a breath in through your nose to your lower abdomen, and as you exhale, feel those nests relaxing, releasing. Feel the chest muscles relax, release, the ribs relax and release, and all sinking down into your belly. Just let your belly hang out. Let the belly hang out. Take another breath in through your nose to your lower abdomen. This time as you exhale, feel your chest sinking. Feel your back naturally rounding. Don't hunch your back again. Feel the weight of your arms weighing the shoulders down and ever so slightly forwards to give you that natural bow across your shoulder blades. Really feel that nerve plexus in between the shoulder blades opening, loosening, relaxing, releasing. An area that we call the jajie, the spirit. Sink your ribs to fill your lower back. Breathe into your belly, relax the bottom of your back. Tilting your pelvic area ever so slightly forwards, or tucking your sacrum under. So the coccyx, the tailbone, the bottom bone of your spine pushes and points down towards the floor. That takes the hollow, the curve, the lordosis out of the lower back and really opens up that gate in the small of the back, the Hmong men, the gate of your fate. Open up those 3 gates up your back. Really feel the spine, without using muscles, feel the spine lifting up inside the body. The skull being pulled back by the ears and lifting up off the spine. And at the same time, feel the face muscles sinking down. The shoulders, nest, the chest, the ribs all sinking down, and push the bottom bone of your spine towards the floor, forwards and ever so slightly up. And doing all this with your mind, your intent. You're not tensing muscles to get this lengthening, this alignment of the spine. You're thinking this lengthening, this alignment of the spine, what we call a neutral spine. So zhang zhang, standing of the post, standing like an unmoving post in the wind. So we have those 2 triangles that make up the feet. You want more weight towards the triangle at the rear of the foot, a 70-30 weight distribution. Soften the insteps, 50-50 divided the weight between both legs. Sitting down, tilt the pelvic area forwards, feel it hanging down, but at the same time feel like you're sitting down onto a high stool. So the top of the legs, with the top of the legs and the buttocks move, you have that groove. The top of the legs where the buttocks and the top of the legs meet is that groove, the gluteal sulcus. Feel yourself tucking that under and like you're sitting down onto a high stool, like a bar stool. So standing pose, standing meditation. Zhang zhang, zhang zhang. So again, make sure your mind isn't wandering away. You know, in Buddhism they call that wandering mind the monkey mind. like a monkey in a tree jumping from branch to branch to branch to branch. That's how our mind can be, jumping from thought to thought to thought. Or sometimes called the magpie mind. You see a shiny thought and you just start to follow it, start to chase it. So when you do notice your mind wandering, just remind yourself that you set this time aside for doing this. And bring your mind back. And again, there are those aspects of the mind that don't like this. It'll tell you, it's more important to think about this, worry about this, stress about that, stress about this. But again, don't follow those thoughts. Those stresses, those worries will still be there when we finish this session. And if you have been really caught up in a stress, just can't get it out of your head, just ruminating on it, after stepping away from it for this session, you might notice when you return back to those things you were stressing about, you can see them from a different perspective. Maybe see solutions that you couldn't see when you were wrapped up in the whirlwind of those stresses. So every time you do notice your mind wandering into thinking away from what we're doing here, just bring it back. It doesn't matter how many times you bring it back, just keep bringing it back to your body in stillness, relaxation, and balance. Tilting your pelvic area ever so slightly forwards, but it feels like it's hanging down from that suspension from above. So relaxing the hips, the buttocks, the pelvic floor, the perineum, the thighs. Soften your knees, do a real mental loosening of your knees. Relax your shins, your calves, loosen your ankles, relax your feet flat on the floor. 70% of the weight going down through the triangles at the rear of the feet, 30 through the triangles at the front of the feet, that 50-50 divided the weight between both legs, softening the insteps. Without changing your posture or using any more muscle, breathing in, feel the whole of your skeleton lifting up inside the body. All the joints, all the spaces in between the bones opening up, softening and flushing, filling with that fluid that lubricates your joints. Feel the bones floating on that fluid, like you're floating in water. Again, breathing in, feel that lifting, that opening inside your body. And keep that feeling, that intent. But as you breathe out, from the top of your head, all the way down to the soles of your feet, just feel the whole body relaxing down. Feel any tensions, any stresses, any worries draining, pouring down through the body. And imagine, visualize them going out through the soles of the feet into the ground, where we will bury that tension. Just let it go. You don't need or want that tension, so just let it go. And when you're ready, I want you to open your eyes, reconnect to the room and the surrounding. Take a breath in through the nose to the belly. As you breathe out, just move your body. Move your body. Move your body. Okay, so standing with your feet about the same distance as the hips and the shoulders apart, feet parallel to each other, mind into that ball in the belly, and again, just start to turn it from side to side. Turning it from side to side. But now when the leg is at its fullest, the hip is more open than closed. So as you sit down onto your right leg, you're turning to your left, opening that right hip. As you sink down to your left leg, you're turning to your right, opening that left hip. Make sure the knees are staying in line with your toes. When the leg is at its fullest, more weight towards the rear of the foot. That's 70-30 weight distribution. Moving freely through these three vertical axes. The axis down from the earlobes, down through the very center of the feet, and the axis down from the bicep point on the top of the head to that midpoint in between your 2 feet. Sinking down, moving it freely across this horizontal plane. Keep that going. I'll put some music on. Put some music on. Here we go. Getting you to share screen. Can you hear that all right? Shall I turn it up? Is it all right? Turn it up. Or is it all right, the music? It's all right? Okay. Sinking down, spiraling down, sitting down. Really feel yourself tucking the pelvic area forwards and sitting down. And try and keep your hips parallel to the floor. So make sure you're not leaning here. Keep the hips parallel to the floor. Sitting down. Feel the bones again, or as always, rotating as they become more weight bearing. Feel a nice even rotation all the way up through the body, so you're not excessively rotating any bones. You're not putting any excessive pressure onto the joints, especially the knees. We don't want to be really rotating the knees. It can rotate. They do have a ability to rotate ever so slightly, but we don't get into that habit of rotating the knees. Head still as if it is suspended from above. Then start to let the leg, the feet follow the movement of the rest of the body. So you're pushing the leg out to the side. So it's not, no, it's not this. It's not this. You're sinking down and just pushing, levering against that supporting leg with the waist and pushing, levering the toes away from the body. Just feel the weight of the body levering down against the leg. Creating that compression, use that compression, lever against that and push the toes away from the body. Arms moving away from the body because of the centripetal force coming out from the center. Shutting down. And raising the heel, pivoting on big toe. So the hips opening here, both hips opening. This is an empty stance. An empty stance. We're sinking down, spiraling down, rolling into the foot from the toes, down towards the heels. Roll down the middle of the feet. 70-30 weight distribution when the legs at its fullest. So that should bring your attention to the Yongchen points, the bubbling well points in the center of your feet. You feel the foot sticking to the floor like a plunger, sticking to the floor. Really feel the foot spreading out. Then you can raise your left toes, right heel, left toes, right heel. Keeping the head up, sink the chest, round the back, pelvic area, tilt forwards, hanging down. Then raise your right toes, left heel, right toes, and left heel. Okay. And just let this settle down on its own. Settling down on its own. So your feet are about the same distance as your hips and your shoulders apart. Feet parallel to each other. Hands onto the waist, onto the hips. With your left foot, roll from the heel towards the toe, push up through the body, and just push your head over to your right side. As if you're trying to push the ear to touch the shoulder. Keep the shoulder nice and relaxed. Sink the ribs to fill the back. Make sure the chest isn't sticking out, the lower back isn't curving in. Feel this lengthening all the way up the side of the body. So when you relax, feel the body contracting back. Then from your right heel towards the toes, roll up and push the head over to the other side. Again, without sticking the chest or the ribs out or curving in the lower back, feel this lengthening all up the side of the body, from the little toes up into the neck. So you relax, and feel the body contracting back, and you're just pushing the head from side to side, and feel it pulling back to the center. Feel that righting reflex, that hardwired reflex to your nervous system, wanting to bring you back to that upright position. You're only really moving your neck and your head, but feel the strength of the earth behind this movement, and as always, working to your capabilities. Even if you can only do this a little movement here, work to your capabilities. We don't like extremes in Tai Chi, so we are kind of stretching here, but you're not kind of doing a stretching out to your extreme. Just loosening up. Relax and feel the head pull back to as if suspended from above. Again, rolling from the left heel towards the toes, push up through the body, and push your head to your right side. Keep your jaw parallel to the floor, pushing to the side. Make sure you're not sticking the chest or the ribs out, or curving in the lower back. Relax. Just feel the body pulling back. Roll from your right heel towards the toes, push up through the body, and push your head to your left side, without sticking the chest or the ribs out or curving in the lower back, and pulling back. So really working with the spiral lines inside the body, working with those anatomy trains that wrap around your torso, coming up the leg, wrapping around the torso and connecting to the back of the neck. Feel the strength of the earth behind the movement. Feel the whole body behind the movement. Only really moving, or somebody looking at you should only really be able to see the neck and the head movement, but you feel the whole body being engaged. Feel the internal connections, the strength of the earth behind the movement. And if you can't feel that, imagine you have lots of gears and cogs inside the body, all connected, all working together to push the head to the side. And looking straight forwards, push down with the heels, push up through the body, push the head up and back, without sticking the chest or the ribs out or curving in the lower back. Feel a lengthening all the front of the body, from the toes up into the neck. So relax, feel that contracting back, and then keep more weight towards the heels, but grip the floor of the toes and pull your chin towards your chest, without hunching the upper back or bulging out the lower back. Feel a lengthening from the toes along the soles of the feet to the top of the head, the forehead into the nose. Relax and feel that pulling back. And just keep this going. So working with the superficial front and back lines here. Superficial front and back lines. Everything supported by your core, your deep frontal line. The bands of connective tissue that run up the inside and the back of the legs, up through the pelvic floor, the dantian, the diaphragm, up through the inside of the ribcage and connecting to the neck, up into the tongue. Just touch the tongue to the roof of the mouth. And looking straight forwards. You have that pull back and lifting, floating feel of the head. Arms are back, stand by your side. Just push the shoulders up and down, up and down. Arms up in front of you, push the shoulders forwards and back. Forwards and back. So we're isolating the shoulders here, but feel the movement supported by the whole body. Keep the head up and really feel inside those rotator cuffs. and the shoulders, ball and socket joint. Really feel inside, really working on your interior section. Feeling inside. Then arms out at the side. Hands at shoulder height. Then reach your left fingers over towards your left side. Feel your left arm pulling your right arm. And feel the body contracting back. Reach your right fingers over towards your right side. Feel the right arm pulling the left arm. And contracting back. And just pulling from side to side. So you're feeling the connectedness between your two arms. You know, the arm bands, those anatomy trains, they go from the fingers at the back of the arms to in between the shoulder blades, so that nerve plexus there. Connecting the arm. Feel that connectedness. On the front of the body, they go from the inside of the arms, the palms, and connect to here. So feel the connectedness of your arms. Feel that pulling. Okay. Arms down, push the shoulders forwards and up. Back and down. Breathing in forwards and up. Back and down. Rotating the shoulders. And again, feel the whole body behind this movement. You can feel yourself rolling between those two triangles along the soles of the feet. And that pump up through the body, sending the shoulders up and back. Make sure you're not sticking the chest or the ribs out. Go one way and the other way. Sending the shoulders around. Sending them around. And then alternate. Alternate. Top one, nice one, sort, but send the shoulders around. Feel the whole body. Feel the cross connections here between your hips and your shoulders. So working with those functional lines that crisscross the front and the back of the body from hip to shoulder. So crisscrossing the body, hip to shoulder. Feel this moving from leg to leg. Feel the strength of the earth behind the movement. Go one way and the other way. Somebody coming in on a fire tablet. Who's that then? Sending the shoulders around. There we go. Did we change direction? One way and the other way. Then both shoulders down, turn the waist so one goes forwards, one goes back. Both shoulders up, turn the waist, one forwards, one back. Both shoulders up at the same time. Both shoulders down at the same time. Turn it waist. So feel the whole body working like a hydraulic piston here. Like a hydraulic piston, up and down. So lengthening, compressing, expanding, contracting. One way and the other way. Okay. Settling down. So hands onto the waist, front of the hips. And go forwards and backwards. Forwards and backwards. Forwards. In fact, no, let's do the rib cage first. I could do with the working on my ribs here. So hands onto the shoulders nest here. So we have the 12 vertebrae that make up the cervical region of the spine, the spinal process on the back. We have the 24 ribs, 12 pairs of ribs connecting to those vertebrae, coming around connecting onto the sternum. Let's see if we can get movement, because we're not fused here, so let's get some movement. So just moving the ribs from side to side. Moving the ribs from side to side. Moving from side to side. So it's not waist, it's not head, it's just moving the rib cage and the spine. You're right, oh. And forwards and backwards. Forwards and backwards. Forwards and backwards. Feel those 24 ribs, 12 vertebrae. And send this around. Sending it around. One way and the other way. And just let it settle down. Let it settle down. Feel the whole of the rib cage hanging down like a bell. All the internal organs hanging down inside that bell, inside the rib cage. And forwards and backwards. Forwards and backwards. Forwards and backwards. So we know we don't want to do this in our Tai Chi forms. We don't want to stick the bum out, but we're really working the sacroiliac or sacroiliac joint here. Do be careful if you do have any problems with that joint or with the lower back here. Just feel the movement you have. In the sacrum and in the lower back. We know we should have movement in this joint. Not too much, but not too little, but we should have movement. Get smaller and smaller, and send this around. Sending this around. So feel the connectedness. We have the sacrum part of the spine, and the blades of the pelvis, the ilium, they make up the pelvis together. Again, joined with cartilage and ligaments here. We have the grooves of the spine, like the knuckles here, and then you have the grooves on the ilium, and they should fit together and move inside them. One way and the other way. So feel that. Not too much movement here, but not too little. That just right. Sending it around. And then just let it settle down on its own. Let it find its plumb. And bring your feet together. Feet together. Hands onto the thighs. Keep the pelvic area tilted forwards. And feel yourself sitting down into the heels. Sitting down, make sure the lower back isn't curving in. You're not really sticking your bum out. It is going backwards, but you're not sticking it out like we were doing in the last previous exercise. Go as far as you can with the feet flat on the floor. Then you can roll up towards the toes and drop down. Keep the knees in on the toes. And keep the body nice and upright. Sink the ribs to fill the back. Make sure you're not letting the body settle into the lower back. And coming up, rolling toe to heel, coming up. Feel a lengthening up the back of the body. Again, sink the ribs to fill the back. Make sure you're not putting all the pressure onto the lower back. Feel this in the back of the legs, the calves, the hamstrings, the buttocks. Sinking down, then sitting down to the heels, knees in line with the toes, dropping down to the heels, and roll towards the toes, roll down the middle of the feet. On the tiptoes, the front triangles, nice and upright. Sink the ribs to fill the back. Coming up, lengthen up the back of the body. Oh, feel that. I really feel this in the buttocks here. And the glutes. And sitting down. Keep the feet flat on the floor here if you want to. I'm going to roll towards my toes. Coming up. Interlacing the fingers, loosen up the wrists. Step forwards, loosen up the wrists. Loosen up your ankle. Step back, loosen up the wrists. Loosen up your ankle. Sit back, do the other foot, wrist and ankle. Step back, wrist and ankle. And shake out. Okay, so we're going to do a bit more standing. Really get the connective tissue going. We're going to doing some mo li, some looking for strength. Then we're going to go into the 5/6 exercises of Wang Xingxian. Wang Xingxian was one of Chen Manqing's senior students, disciples in Taiwan. Went on to teach in Singapore and Malaysia. Taught Wiki Jin, and the 6 exercises I learnt off of Willie Lim, and I have taught to you over the years. I've recently picked them up again, and I'm really loving them again. But we're going to do some standing before that. So feet hip distance, shoulder apart, parallel to each other. Pelvic area is tilted forwards, hanging down from our suspension from above. Bring your arms up so they're in front of you. But we're not doing the one where you imagine you're holding a heavy belly here. You're kind of pointing the fingers towards the floor, pointing the fingers in towards the floor. Head as if suspended from above. We'll keep our eyes open for the moment. You can imagine you're sitting down onto a large ball. You can imagine you have a couple of balloons in between your knees. You're holding them there without crushing them or dropping them. You can imagine you have a spring between the knees, pulling the knees in. Imagine these balloons are made out of tissue paper. So you're holding them there without crushing them or dropping them. The spring pulling the knees in. So you're moving the knees out so as not to crush those balloons, but not so much that you drop them. Sitting down to a large rubber ball. Head as if suspended above. You can imagine you have a balloon underneath your chin. You're resting your chin on that, holding that balloon there without dropping it or crushing it. Sink the chest, round the back, sink the ribs to fill the lower back, looking into the distance. Imagine you're watching the birds flying near the distant clouds. Or looking into the forest, or looking over the expanse of a great river or lake. And this, you're not being distracted by anything you see around you. And imagine you have spikes coming out from your fingertips. Like a Wolverine, I know they come out their knuckles, but imagine you have spikes coming out of your fingertips. Like you can imagine like Edward Scissorhands. Remember that Johnny Depp film? At the same time, imagine you have springs coming from the fingertips that are connected to the floor. You can imagine you're waist deep, chest deep in water in the sea here. Your feet are safely on the seabed or the sandy seabed. Then imagine a wave comes from in front of you, pushing you backwards. So you go backwards. You can lift the toes up here and feel yourself stretching those springs between the fingers and the ground, moving up and out. Make sure the lower back isn't curving in. You're not buckling the ribs out here. Lengthening. Feel springs. Imagine you have springs from the soles of the feet to the top of the head, and you're lengthening those springs. And feel a wave coming from behind you, pushing you forwards. So you go forward. You can press forwards, and you dig your spikes, your finger spikes, into the ground, forwards and in, digging them into the sand. Feel the wave coming from behind you, the water trying to push you over, so you're meeting that wave, compressing the body forwards, going more towards the front of the feet. Then feel the wave coming from behind you, pushing you backwards, go towards the back of the feet. And lengthen those springs between the fingers, moving up and out, and the springs from the soles of the feet to the top of the head. Feel the water trying to push you over, so you're meeting that. Make sure the structure's not buckling at the back, the ribs aren't flaring out. Then from behind, you're pushing you forward, so you go forwards. Then back. And you can rock You can raise the toes as you go backwards here, and raise the heel as you're going forwards. Rolling down the middle of the feet, taking the weight of the body down through the very center of the feet. Rocking, lengthening, and compressing. And we know with these sort of exercises here, if you do find your structure is breaking, don't kind of just wobble all over the place to try and keep yourself there. If you need to, kind of step back. If you need to, step forwards. Keep that good posture. You're trying to find your tensegrity, your tipping point, your balance, your perfect structure. Forwards and back. Feel the body compressing and lengthening. And then see if you can close your eyes and do this. See if you can close your eyes and do this. I find that doing this, tilt the pelvic area forwards, feel it hanging down. I find that just doing this one, it kind of, if I am holding tension in my lower back, in that the lumbar section of the back, the erector spinal muscles, or in the lumbar fascia that runs between the ribs or the spine and the erector spinal muscles. If I'm holding tension there, this one helps me to release that tension. Feel the water pushing you forwards and backwards, lengthening those springs, digging the spikes into the ground. So this is Moli. So in Moli they say small movement is superior to large movement and no movement is superior to small movement. So feel the movement getting smaller and smaller and smaller until it appears that it's stopped. Or somebody looking at you, it would appear that it's stopped. But you're still meeting those forces. In front of you, from behind you, lengthening the springs, digging the spikes into the ground. And then stop. Stop moving, but still have the intent of meeting those waves, stretching those springs, digging those spikes. Meeting those forces. So you're still getting all those sensory neurons going, sensory and motor neurons whizzing backwards and forwards to the brain, to the cerebellum, to the nervous system, central nervous system. But you're not moving, but you're still thinking it. And try and think them both, or try and think them all at the same time. So meeting the wave coming from in front of you and from behind you, digging the spikes into the ground while lengthening those springs between the fingers, lengthening the springs from the top of the head, from the soles of the feet to the top of the head, and compressing them. All at the same time. Think all at the same time, but relax all the muscles you'd use to perform those tasks. So you're thinking it, but you're actively relaxing all the muscles you'd use, but still sending all those signals, those bioelectric signals inside the body, those sensory and motor neurons whizzing around the inside of the body. So there's stillness on the outside of the body, but there is movement inside the body. You're making sure that you're trying to relax all the muscles, but still sending all those signals. And relax. And open your eyes. Open your eyes. Feet hip distance, shoulder apart. Step forward to the right foot, touch the right toes down in front of the left toe. Step back. Step forward to the left foot, touch the left toes down in front of the right toe. Step forward. Throw the right hand of your left shoulder. Throw the left hand of your right shoulder. Throw the left hand of your right ribs. Throw the right hand of your left ribs. And just stepping from legs to leg. Stepping from leg to leg. Touching the toes down in front of you for balance. You're not committing any weight to that front foot, just touching the toes down in front of you for balance. You can slide the foot across the floor as long as it doesn't stick to the floor. I know some of you probably might be stood on a carpeted floor. So make sure the foot doesn't stick to the floor. On that supporting leg, have that 70-30 weight distribution. 70% of the weight going down through the triangle at the rear of the foot, 30 through the triangle at the front of the foot. And you're just touching the base of that front triangle onto the floor. Sitting down, empty stance, compressing. Feel the leg compressing against the ground, sitting down. That's wrong, that's right. Arms just swinging on your shoulders, bringing both arms in front of you. Giving yourself a hug. Cupping the hands and doing the cupping massage stroke to release any tension you might still be holding onto in the shoulders. Hit yourself as hard as it's comfortable for you. The other hand coming underneath the armpit and conditioning the ribs. Conditioning the ribs. Sitting down. Compressing down. Bouncing out. Okay, and then just let this settle down on its own. settling down on its own, settling down on its own. Okay, so the 5 or stroke 6 exercises of Wang Xingzhen. Okay, so he was one of Chen Manqing's students. Before he was a Tai Chi exponent, one of Chen Manqing's students, he was a white crane, a Fujian white crane exponent. So there are elements of the white crane system in these movements. Okay, feet hip distance, shoulder apart, tongue on the roof of the mouth, pelvic area tilted towards hanging down, head as if suspended from above, arms up at the side. Let me just start. So this one, doing it quite big to start off with. So we've done this for years, this exercise. I've always called it the tree swaying in the breeze, like a tree being tossed around by a blustery gale. Okay? So making sure that the hips stay parallel to the floor. So you're not throwing the hips up and down. Hips stay parallel to the floor. And the arms going quite high up here, in front of you, in front of the body, and at the sides of the body. Make sure the knee of the supporting leg stays in line with the toes, or both knees, especially the knee of the supporting leg. More weight towards the rear of the foot when the leg's at its fullest. Pelvic area is tilted forwards, hanging down. Really feel gravity's effect on the body, but feel that lifting inside the body, that raising the spirit of vitality to the top of the head. Sinking down. And we do have this kind of bounce in here, this compression. Just feel the body compressing against the ground. So this is the tree in the wind. A tree in the wind. But when you see Wang Xingzhen, in his, if you want to research him, the Wang is spelled H-U-A-N-G. Wang. We know Wang means yellow, doesn't it? It means yellow. Very auspicious name. Yellow. Okay, so when you see Wang Xingzhen doing this, and there is a film of him doing these exercises, he does it a lot smaller than we're doing now. So make the movements smaller. So this one, we were kind of doing a big shift between those 3 vertical axes. Now make it smaller. Just staying on the central axis here. Staying in the center. You have that straight line down from the top of the head to the midpoint in between your feet. Sitting down, and the hands not coming up as high in front of you as well. So only coming up over, say, the dantian, the belly area. Up at the side of the body. Keeping the shoulders nice and relaxed. Hips parallel to the floor. The hand in front of you only comes up over the dantian. Really relaxing the shoulders. Throwing your arms down, throwing them down. Small movement. Hands still coming up quite high at the side of the body, but make sure the shoulders aren't going up. Shoulders nice and relaxed. Head in the center, shifting. Really spiraling the arms up, dropping down. So not too high in front of you here, not too high, only up to dantian. Takes a lot more control to do it like that. Still getting the arms up high here, shoulders relaxed, but not high here. Takes a little bit more control. Really have to flick your arms up. As opposed to if you already sink down, you can really throw them up. Small movement. And there are quite a few videos of Wang Xingzhen with his pushing hands and his fighting. He's one of those ones who, like, anybody touching him, he can send them flying with a tiny movement. Tiny movement. So feel the strength of the earth behind these movements, just sending your arms up. Okay, then change. Up. Up. So I feel myself rolling from the heels towards the toes and from the toes towards the heels. Activating that pump along the soles of the feet. Keep the pelvic area tilted forwards, pelvic area hanging down, sitting down, sink the ribs to fill the back. So we're going to do the up and downward movement here. So feel this. If I'm doing this bounce to start off with, we're going to stop this bounce. And we're going to, every time the arms go up at shoulder height, I want you to go up an increment with the body. It's going up, going up, going up, until you can't go any further unless you to lock your body out. And we know we don't want to lock the body out in Tai Chi. So then each time your arms pass by the groin, I want you to go down an increment, down a notch. Make sure the knees stay in line with the toes, you're not sticking the bum out, you're not curving in the lower back. Going down, 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 keeping nice and upright. So you can't go any further unless you were to break your structure. Then go up, going up an increment. Feel the arms, weighted arms taking you up, taking the body up a notch, until you can't go any further unless you have to lock your body out, and we don't have to do that. So then go down. Going down in increment. Good structure. So again, it's more controlled here, more internal control of the body. So you can't go any further unless you have to break your structure, then going up. Going up. It's going up a notch. Going up. 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 And down. Good structure. Straight up and straight down. Up and down. And every time, if you do notice your mind wandering away, as it can do when you are familiar with some of the exercises, mind can wander away into thinking, that little aspect of the mind that likes to wander will trick you into thinking, oh, you've got time to think about this. Oh, shiny thought, follow that thought. No, bring yourself back. Bring yourself back. You've set this time aside for doing this. Make sure you are truly present. Don't follow those thoughts. Don't let them turn into thinking. Keep yourself here. Even when those little aspects of the mind tell you, oh, come on, you need to think this. Oh, can't you? Yeah, oh, it's very important you remember this. Keep thinking about this. It's just trying to distract you away from the moment so it can keep its dominance over your mind. And when we do really bring ourselves into moment, we open up the heart mind of the moment, which is suppressed, dominated by that little part of the mind, the id, the little I, the dark shadow. If you keep feeding it and following its thoughts, giving into its whims. Be the master over that part of the mind, not the slave to it. Okay. Settling down. Okay. Drop the weight down onto your left leg. Turn and just throw your arm forward and palm facing down. So you push it over to your right leg, then push back. Just pushing from leg to leg. So again, you're keeping quite central here. So it's not a massive movement here. The heel is not coming off the ground. Your head is staying in the center. Head is staying in the center. So quite a small movement. We know in Tai Chi we start off quite big when we're learning Tai Chi, and then we get smaller and smaller. You just have to watch Chaman Ching's videos, his films of him doing his form. When he was in Taiwan, his form was very, very big, very yang style, very big form. And then his last form video, where he's in New York, it's very, very small, very, very small. So getting small. And there's a film of Wang Xingzhen doing his Chaman Ching form as well. His form is very, very small as well. So head's in the center. Still feel the whole body behind the movement. So you feel this rotational movement coming up through the body, throwing the arm forwards. But somebody looking at you should barely be able to see it. It's not a massive shift of the weight from leg to leg. Even though you are shifting from leg to leg, staying in the center. Throwing the arm forwards. And kind of imagine you throwing any tension from your shoulder. Imagine arms up and then you're throwing it out. Down into the ground. Keeping the shoulders nice and relaxed. Nice and relaxed. Like you're taking that brisk walk with your feet stuck to the spot. Oh, yeah. You might not want to walk around like this. Relaxing at the shoulders. Relaxing. Relaxing. Make sure my mind wandered then. Make sure you are still connected. You're feeling the strength of the whole body behind it. Connected mind and body. Whole body connected. Feeling the strength of the earth behind the movement. Head as if suspended from above. Tongue roof the mouth. Moving from the center. Okay. Let this set down on its own. So we're going to do this wave coming up through the body here. This wave coming up. So like the kind of compression we're doing before, like coming up and going forwards into this, striking forwards with the ledges of the hand. Okay, be careful if you do have any problems with the back. So breathing in, bring the heels into the inguinal crease here. Breathing in, wave, and forwards. Round the upper back, pelvic area tilt forwards. Round, so you have this at the back. Make sure you're not over hunching, but going forwards. Going forwards. Breathing in. Going forwards. Breathing in. Going forwards. Okay, then bring the palms together. Bring the hands to the body. And look down the body here. The hands sliding down the thighs. Sit down to the heels. Start to incline forwards from the hips. Then working up your spine as you're going forwards here. Make sure you're going straight forwards here, going straight forwards. And just letting the body hang down. Letting the body hang down. Keep that bend in the knees. Sink the ribs to fill the back, so you're not putting all the pressure into the lower back here. Sink the ribs. Push the floating ribs, the bottom ribs towards the lower back. Sitting down to the heels, engaging the superficial back lines across the body. And we're just going to go forwards and backwards here. Forwards and backwards here. You can scrape the hands across the floor, or you can touch the hands down in front of you, palms down, and then reach between your legs and touch the back of the hands down. You don't have to touch the floor if you can't go down that low. You can just let them swing. Just really let your head, your arms hang down. Then turn it to the sides and let your arms, the lower arms, wrap around the lower leg. Moving from your center. Again, sitting down. Sink the ribs to fill the back. You should be feeling this in the lumbar section of the back. Let the head hang. Feel that traction of the cervical region of the spine, the thoracic region of the spine. Arms hanging down. Drop to the center. Make the hands into hollow fists and punch towards the floor. Really shaking out, relaxing the shoulders and the neck. And again, sink the ribs to fill the back. You shouldn't be feeling this in the lumbar section of the back. Relaxing the shoulders. Then sit down to the heels, knees and on the toes. You can tilt the pelvic area forwards and just push yourself up. Pushing yourself up. Okay, then breathing in, forwards. Really feel that wave going up the spine. And forwards. In. Bring the palms together. And the hands into the chest. Dropping down. Working up the spine as you go down here. So start the coccyx, the sacrum, the lumbar section of the back, thoracic region, cervical region. Just dropping down, sitting down to the heels, and just let your body hang for a while. So again, sink the ribs to fill the back. Let the arms, the head hang down. Feel that traction, that lengthening of the upper spine. Always, as always, be careful if you don't have any pops at the back. And then just swinging, forwards and backwards. Forwards and backwards. Side to side. The lower arms wrap around the lower legs, or the forearms wrapping around the lower legs. And swing. And the center and just shaking out. Punching towards the ground with the dance. Relaxing the shoulders, the neck, sink the ribs to fill the lower back. And sit down to the heels. Pelvic area tilted forwards, knees along the toes, and just bring yourself up. Okay, feet hip distance, shoulder apart, parallel to each other. Drop the weight of the body onto your left leg. Turn the right toes in, so the right toes are pointing towards the left toes. Sit back onto the right foot, turn the left toes out, so the left toes are pointing towards the side. So you're in a bow stance here, a gung bu stance, a bow and arrow stance. Heels in line. Heels are still the same distance as the hips and the shoulders apart. You're just going forwards and backwards here. Keep the pelvic area tilted forwards. Make sure the front knee goes in line with the toes, no further forward than the toes. Sacrum tucked under, tailbone points towards the floor, goes no further back than the center of the calf muscle. Nice and controlled. Nice and slow, rolling down the middle of the feet. Activating that plantar fascia, getting that pump. Floating across this area, the quad. Across the heads of the thigh bones to the pelvic floor. If you're holding tension in this area, you tend to have to go up and over that tension. So moving free or underneath that tension. Moving freely through this area. You can do it quite slow, don't rush it. Forwards and backwards. And make sure you're keeping nice and upright. You can even check kind of in your screen there, making sure you're. I have a habit of doing this. So as I go forwards, of sticking my bum out ever so slightly. And in Chen Manching style, we want to be perfectly upright. In other styles like your Wu style and Yang style, you can lean ever so slightly forward. You want to keep nice and upright. Perfectly perpendicular. And when you sit back, you can straighten this leg. Don't lock the leg out, but you can straighten this leg. So you are putting all the weight into the rear leg. And you are pretty much dumping all the weight into that front leg. So this is like an empty stance. And then sit back to the rear leg. More weight towards the rear of that foot, 70-30 weight distribution. Slide the front foot towards you and touch the toes down. And touch the heel where the toes were. Heel and toe. Heel and toe. Really sitting into that supporting leg, like sitting down to a high stool. Sink the ribs to fill the back. Make sure you're not sticking your chest out, keeping the head up. You should really feel this in the thigh muscles. Feeling the anatomy trains as well, especially the lateral bands at the sides of the body, or the side of the body here, this side. Okay, feet hip distance, shoulder apart, parallel to each other. Drop the weight onto your left leg. Turn the waist to turn the right toes into the right toes are pointing towards your left toes. Sit back. Turn the right toes out. So again, heels are still in line. Hip distance, shoulders apart. In this gung-bu stance, this bow and arrow stance. Just moving forwards and backwards here. Forwards and backwards. So I have to really be careful on this one that I don't lean forwards. This is this ankle here, and this ankle here is the one that doesn't work very well. So it will kind of try and kick me forward to make my bum stick out here. So I have to really be careful. Really try to make sure the pelvic area stays under. Hanging down, plumb. Rolling down the middle of the feet, taking the weight of the body down. Rolling down the middle of the feet, rolling between those two triangles. Front knee in line with the toes, no further forward than the toes. Sacrum sucked under, tailbone points towards the floor, goes no further back than the center of the calf. So when you sit back, you can straighten this front leg, but don't lock the knee out. And going forwards, let this rear leg hang down. Let it hang down. The pelvic area hang down, so you're not putting pressure onto the lower back. Straight forwards. Again, nice and slow. In the past, we've done in Qigong exercise, we've done this playing with the waves, movement with the arms. We've done this pigeon spreads its wings, movement with the arms. You can do that in this, but Wang Xingzhen, he doesn't tend to do that. Well, I don't know, the only film I've seen of him doing was the one, he didn't do it in that film, so he might have, because this is very white crane, this movement here. He might put them into his, over the years, doing these exercises. Keeping nice and upright. Just moving the upper body with the legs and the strength of the earth and your center of gravity. And sit back to the rear leg, more weight towards the rear of the foot, 70-30 weight distribution, knee on the toes. Slide the front foot towards you until the toes touch down where the heel was. Then touch the heel down. Toes, heel, toe. Again, you should feel this in the lateral bands of connective tissue on the sides of the body, those lateral anatomy trains. Feeling the iliotibial tract, the thigh muscles, feeling the buttocks as well. You really feel yourself sitting down, sink the ribs, feel the back. Engaging your core muscles, your deep frontal line. And turn to the center. Shake out. Okay, so that's the 5/6 exercises as the only film I've seen of Wang Xingzhen doing it. We know in the past we've practiced them very differently. Willie Lim does teach them very differently, and if you go on and you see Wiki Jin teaching these exercises, he does them very differently to Wang Xingzhen doing them as well. So we'll go through them in the way that we've done them in the past. So we'll start. Let's start in this one. So we're doing the like Wiki Jin does them. Some arms out to the side. Just drop down. So nice and slow. Nice and slow. Again, you're still staying pretty much in the center. The hips staying parallel to the floor. Nice and slow. Breathing in and breathing out. And again, the hands not coming up too high in front of you, only coming up over the mung men. And the mung men in the lower back and the chi hai, the dantian on the front, center of the body. So there is a great video of Wiki Jin doing these in the I think it's the second Chen Manqing Forum, which was in Germany, in Hanover. And he's demonstrating this move in one of his seminars. And he gets a Dutch master to come and help him demonstrate, a guy called Epi van der Pol. I think Sam's met him before. Me and Sam met him in France a few years ago. A lot of years ago, it's 11 years ago, wow. And he gets Epi to push on his shoulder here and onto his elbow. And he just does this, poof, and Epi goes flying off of him. Flying onto the floor. And it just moves, poof, like that, poof, tiny movement. So feel the whole body behind the movement. Keep the head in the center between the two legs, so not a massive shift from leg to leg. Breathing in, breathing out. Oh, my arm's coming up too high. Really feel that this spiraling coming up through the body, this spiraling. The strength of the earth behind the movements of the arms. Okay, and this one, breathing in, and breathing out, breathing in. Nice relaxed shoulders. Shoulders nice and relaxed. So we have the up and down movement here. We're not going up in, I suppose we can go up in notches. So sink down and go up in notches. Breathing in. Breathing out. So you can't go any higher without locking the body out. We don't want to do that. So then go down in increments. So you can't go any further unless you're to break your structure. The structure we've been working on, or we're always working on in challenging style Tai Chi, then going up again. Okay. Drop the weight onto your right leg. You're gonna, well, let's just do it just like this to start off with. Okay, so just pushing from leg to leg. Pushing from leg to leg. Sinking down, bouncing out. Make sure the knee stays in line with the toes. So again, moving between these 3 vertical axes to start off with, then we're gonna make it smaller. More weight towards the rear of the foot when the legs at its fullest. Knee goes forwards, hip goes backwards, sitting down, sink the ribs, fill the back, head up, tongue the roof of the mouth, pulling back with the ears, lifting, feeling the head. Breathing in, and breathing out. Like you're sinking out, like you stood up on something floating on water. You stood up on a floating platform, on a raft or on a boat, sinking down and bouncing. So really do imagine that. So we know the nervous system not knowing the difference between imaginary and real. So the better you can imagine that, the more the nervous system will instruct the body into the right positioning to perform this thing you're imagining. You can imagine you're balancing a bowl of water on the top of the head as well. You don't want to spill it down your face. So again, really do imagine it. So again, the nervous system, not knowing the difference between imaginary and real, will instruct the body into the right positioning so as not to spill that down your face. And drop the weight of the body down through your left leg. Breathing in, left leg to right leg, push up your right arm. Breathing out, lowering it down. Breathing in, right to left leg, push up your left arm. Breathing out, lowering it down. Breathing in, keeping the shoulders nice and relaxed. Really work on keeping the shoulders down. Feel those cross connections going up through the body, so kind of like you're doing this big spiraling movement, but make it really nice and internal. And make it smaller. So you're not doing a massive shift from leg to leg, you're just keeping that central axis down from the bi-high point on the top of the head to that midpoint in between your 2 feet. Shoulders nice and relaxed. Really be honest with yourself. Are you are the movements disjointed here? Or are you using the whole body? Do you feel the strength of the earth behind all the movements? Breathing in, and breathing out. Imagine your arms are really heavy. Heavy, heavy, heavy. So imagine you have weights on your elbows, keeping your shoulders down. Keep that small gap underneath your armpits. Heavy, heavy arms. Heavy, so heavy, you're having to push them up. Push them up. And you're lowering them down as well, so you're not just letting them drop straight down, you're kind of neutralizing the weight of your arms. So taking the weight of the arms down through the inside of the body into the ground. Nice, relax, heavy, heavy, heavy. Present in the moment. Really be honest with yourself if your mind has wandered away as well. Don't get annoyed at yourself if it has. Just remind yourself that you're doing this, you're not thinking whatever random thoughts those little aspects of the mind wanted you to think, to try and distract you away from the here and the now. Say those thoughts, those stresses will still be there when we finish. And having stepped away from them, you give your mind a real rest from that whirlwind. And again, you might see them from a different perspective when you do return to them. Okay, so we won't do the other ones. I don't think you really do them slower, so bring your heels together. Heels are together. The feet were on the face of the clock, left foot will be pointing to 10 o'clock, right foot to 2 o'clock. 10 to 2, 10 past 10. Sit down into the heels. Just want you to lift your toes off the floor and drop the weight down into your heels. Again, make sure the structure is not buckling at the ribs, the lower back's not curving in. Sink the ribs to fill the back. Sit down onto that gluteal sulcus, like sitting down to a high stool. Bend the knees, sit down, then lower the toes down. That's 70-30 weight distribution between the feet. And we know that's not chiseled in stone. It's just what I've been working on for the last year or so, really. It's not chiseled in stone. Arms relaxed down by side. Middle fingers touching your thighs. Small gap underneath each armpit. Head as if suspended from above. Closing your beautiful eyes. Nice and upright. So you're taking the weight of the body down through the lower dantian, down through the legs and into the ground. Any saliva that has poured in your mouth, swallow that saliva down and imagine it dropping straight down into the lower dantian, the area about 3 fingers below the belly button and in the center of the body. You know, when we do our Tai Chi exercises with the tongue on the roof of the mouth, that saliva that pours in the mouth is said to be like a medicine, full of chi. We know that tongue on the roof of the mouth makes a connection between the dume and the renmei, makes up the microcosmic orbit, the small heavenly circulation, embryotic breath. So that saliva that pours in that connection is full of energy. And we know that energy, that chi energy, is not restricted by the tissue inside your body. You can travel through it if you guide it with your mind. So even though you swallow the saliva down, the saliva goes through your digestive tract. The chi in there, if you guide it into the dantian, will go into the dantian, the lower dantian. And inside the dantian, we know the dantian is often referred to as the cauldron, or the cooking pot, or the furnace. Inside the lower dantian, it gets refined, turned into something else, something more. And from there, it gets distributed around your body to where it's needed, or where you guide it with your mind. So let the mind settle into the dantian, the lower dantian, that area about 3 fingers below the belly button and in the center of the body. Feel the balance of the body around there. Take the weight of the body down through there. Bring the strength of the earth up through there. Let the mind settle into there. Breathing into there. Feel the area expanding with the in-breath and contracting with the out-breath. And as long as it's not too forced here, try to make the out-breath longer than the in-breath. And you really shouldn't be able to hear the breath to breath. The breath should be nice and light. Let the mind settle down. If it's still a little bit scattered, let it settle down. Don't follow any thoughts. At least don't let them turn into thinking. Let those thoughts pass, like the clouds across the sky, let them pass. And just keep yourself centered in the moment, in stillness, balance, relaxation. Breathing. And if movement does happen in the body, don't tense up to try and stop it. Just try to bring yourself back to the center and back to stillness. Don't force it. Don't stop. Don't tense the body up to try and stop it. And don't initiate it either. If it happens, let it happen and bring yourself back to your equilibrium and stillness. Opening your eyes, stepping out, rub hands, give your neck a good rub, shoulders, like rubbing a magic cream, or you just feel yourself doing self-massage here. The belly, one way, the other way, rolling around, up and down, buttocks. Wheel crease, the hips, the thighs, the knees, rubbing warm, loving, positive energy into your knees, the shins, the calves, the ankles if you can get down there. Anywhere you feel needs some special attention, give it a bit of a rub. And we can finish there. Great session. I'll see you next week. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.